Alrighty guys, so we're over here at my PC. As you can see, I'm going to walk you guys step by step through this build of how I made this awesome custom holiday themed DualSense 5 controller. Now there is going to be a shorter 3 minute long video with some dank banger of a song and some cool cool video transitions and effects, basically making me look like a hero building this thing. This is not that video. This is a long one. This is 25 minutes, I believe, and it's step by step how to hydrodip a controller, how to properly spray paint, stuff like that. So let's jump right into this build. Alright boys, the garage is coming together pretty good. It's not nearly as pimperific as my last garage, but obviously I just moved here about a month and a half ago. I still have the flooring to do. Probably going to do either epoxy coat in here, or I might do some of that checker tiling like I had in my last house, but at least I did get my overhead lights installed, so we'll be able to actually see what we're doing when we are over there at the workbench. But you know, I got my wall art hung up and stuff, some shelving to have all my detailing products over there, so it is coming along pretty well. But coming over here to the workbench, we're going to talk about what we're going to do out here. So I get a lot of questions, people saying, hey Kevin, are you spray painting your controllers? Yes. So I have used an air-assisted spray gun with mixed paint in the past, and the results were literally identical to what you get with spray paint, as long as you know what you're doing and you go through the process properly. So that would be prep work, meaning that your surface is cleaned, it's masked off properly, and then also if you do need to sand it or scuff it in any way, if it does not have a textured surface, then you go ahead and do that, and then you basically prepare it properly. You go with the proper technique of 4 to 6 inches, 2 to 3 base coats, and then some kind of a high quality sealant or a clear coat. So I have multiple clear coats. I have matte, I have gloss, and also if you are painting plastic components, you want to make sure that they have this right there on the label, that they do bond to plastic. All the paints I have here say either bond to plastic or they are specifically for plastic. And also some of these ones that are paint plus primer are great, so that way you don't have to hit them initially with a first coat of primer. So as long as you know what you're doing and you follow the process, the procedure that I'm going to show you on this channel here, you're going to have excellent results whether you're painting aluminum, wood, plastic. I mean, spray paint, the good old-fashioned rattle cans, these have been around for fucking decades for a reason. They work. As long as you know what you're doing, you're not going to get runs or thin spots. It's not going to wear off from you playing with the controller or anything like that. I mean, that comes down to the clear coat, having a good sealant on there, so your finger oils and you constantly having friction rubbing on the controller, it doesn't wear off. But yes, I have used a spray gun and I had the same results. So to keep my cost of operation down, my overhead down, obviously, because I'm trying to make a profit with this business, yes, I am currently using spray paint. Okay, boys, so the colors that we're going to be using for this build, as I am going to be going with kind of a Christmas holiday theme, I bought some of this really nice strawberry fields here. It's a really nice, bright, vibrant red. And it doesn't matter if the paint's gloss or matte, because when you put your sealant or your clear coat on that, depending on which one you choose, gloss or clear, that is going to either flat it out or give you a nice layer of gloss on it. We're also going to be using this green here to go with that holiday theme, and then we are going to need some white. I'm going to go ahead and use this ultra matte back here. This is gloss, this is matte, and that is going to be for this section here, because we're going to be hydro dipping this. And the front and rear shell are already white, however this part is black, and when you hydro dip, whatever base color you have in the back is really going to pop through. So white is going to be a great base to actually make our hydro dip stand out. Now, some of the things that I do recommend having is, for one, masking tape, because if you are going to be doing small components like this, you should have a 1.5 to 2 inch thick one like this, and then a 1/2 or 1/4 inch for that fine detail work. So these are the trigger modules with those adaptive triggers for the PS5 DualSense. And I messed around for a while during the disassembly, as you guys probably saw in that video, and was unable to find a way to actually remove these trigger caps off here. So you know what? I just taped off the entire modules. Obviously you want to make sure that you have the actual trigger portion that's going to be exposed in the controller shell out, and we're just going to paint them like that. I also do recommend laying down a couple strips of masking tape like this for these smaller components, because as soon as you start to spray them, the projectile air out of there is actually going to move around some of these really light components, and then you're going to get a bunch of marks because, you know, while they're still wet, they're getting bounced around. So it's just a little trick I picked up over the ages. I do also recommend using some kind of a respirator. You can get a cheap little pack of these paper ones, disposable ones like this, or you can invest in something like this from Amazon. I will have a link in the description below to the gloves I use. The brand of masking tape I use is 3M, disposable masks, this respirator. as well as the exact paints that I use, as well as the hydro-dipping film. Basically everything used in this build will be listed. First of all, you want to make sure you mix your paint extremely well, so I'd recommend shaking the can for 30 to 60 seconds, not only vertically, but also in a circular fashion like this. You want to hear that ball bearing rolling around in there, making sure it's mixing up all of the solution, especially if it is a paint and primer. Golly. Right. Let's do it. So I will be using this big bad boy here when I do the hydro dipping, because the activator for that is extremely toxic and absolutely terrible for your lungs. Just basic spray paint though. A little paper respirator like this is just fine. I do have my garage closed, but you know, honestly, ideally, you can have that opened up, or you know, if you're doing this indoors in your bedroom or something like that, make sure your parents aren't home first of all, and open up your bedroom window. Make sure you have your ceiling fan on and all that good stuff. All right, so you want to be, generally they say 6 to 8 inches, but I've noticed with these little plastic components, you get better coverage at about 4 to 6 inches, so that is exactly what we're going to do. And you basically just want to go in a fan pattern like this. Spritz, 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 spritz. Seems like my nozzle might be a little bit clogged. Oh yeah. It is. All right, so I just used a needle and a small brush to clean out my nozzle there. Seemed to help quite a bit. And also, since the can is pretty empty, you kind of have to hold it upright. You can't really hold it at an angle or it's going to lose pressure. Now generally, if I was just leaving that color, I would probably give it 2 to 3 coats. However, since we're just trying to get this white, not black, so it'll pop through the hydro dipping that we're already going to be doing, 1 coat is fine. It looks like I have full coverage over the entire component, so it's going to be white now. That's what we want. Another little quick bro tip, instead of just having it on a workbench or something like this, using something like this tray or even a cardboard box that you can rotate around, makes your life a whole hell of a lot easier. Speaking of which, I'm going to put a cardboard box back here right now for overspray, just to keep my my desk and shit a little bit cleaner. Not that it really matters, it kind of ruined the surface of this workbench over time, unfortunately. Almost forgot I had this little overhead workbench light too. I mean, honestly, it's already stupid bright with the overhead LEDs, but that does help quite a bit to get some residual light off the back here. Now, as for the touch bar, I was originally going to hydro dip this with another pattern, and I think I might still do that, maybe carbon fiber or something like that. The other idea that I had was just to lightly spritz or mist a little bit of the green on this side and a little bit of the red on that side. So it'd be, you know, white and then kind of fade like a gradient from green to red. So a little tip, if you actually hold the can like sideways or upside down like that, you can actually just spritz a little bit. It'll give kind of like a thick mist. Something like that. Almost looks like blood splatter or something. Obviously I don't want to get any overspray over here, so bend that up a little bit. Very Christmassy. You get one more blast of the red from over here. Another little spritz of the green over here. Yeah, that looks fucking sick. Alrighty boys, we're in the kitchen now. Let's go ahead and give ourselves a little bit Mo light. Very nice, very nice. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and prepare our hydro dipping film. The 2 films we're gonna be using for this is this really cool Christmas pattern here. It has trees and snowmen and ornaments and Santa and a bunch of other reindeer on it and cool shit like that. And then also this carbon fiber here, which we are going to be using on the that little black, well, it was black, now it's white, that little black trim piece at the bottom, which hides all the screws and whatnot. So when you're handling this hydro dip film, first of all, you don't want any moisture ever getting on it. So I store these indoor, not in my garage or shed or anything like that. I store them in my closet because this stuff is very fragile, very sensitive to water. And you want to make sure that it obviously lasts for you because it's not very cheap. So you can just trim it with some, you know, scissors or kitchen shears, or you can invest in a little paper cutter like this. This is an Amazon Basics one. I think it was like $5 or $8 or something like that. Very inexpensive. Again, anything I use in the video will be linked in the description below in case you guys want to do this project at home. So my hands are clean and they are dried thoroughly, so I don't you know, mess up this wonderful, wonderful film. All right, when you're cutting sheets for any kind of hydro dipping, you want to go larger than the actual object that you are going to be hydro dipping. So this is going to be the front shell, and we have a piece that's significantly larger. That's what you want. This thing doesn't cut very great. You gotta really bap it. It's pretty whack. Okay. Maybe it's just super fucking dull or something. I don't know why, I barely use this thing. Jesus, this thing fucking blows ass. Alright, sweet. So we got our 2 sheets here. We're gonna set those aside. Let's get our carbon fiber real quick. You want to keep this in the package with this little anti-moisture packet in there. Obviously make sure no children or pets get a hold of that because it'll kill them. This one I think I did leave out in the garage. It feels really kind of brittle and shitty, which is less than ideal, but it'll work. We're going to make it work. We'll just have to use a little bit more activator on it and maybe have it soak in the water a little bit longer to moisten her up. All right, bigger sheet than we need. This thing absolutely fucking sucks. Just go ahead and trim off that last little bit of giblet there. Perfect. Alrighty, sorry if it's a little smoky in here. Daddy just took a little rip off the tape here. So, what you're gonna do now is take your masking tape, take a large, your thicker masking tape roll. This is a 2-incher, I believe, 1.5 inches, something like that. Doesn't say on her. Looks about a, yeah, it looks about a 2-incher. All right, so what you're gonna do is tape down the edges, and this is for 2 reasons. Let's go ahead and get this little excess flap off here. We don't need that in our lives. And just looking at this, I probably should have gone just a little bit bigger. It is a rather small component that we're hydro dipping, but I could have gone just a little bit bigger on this film here. Not a huge deal. It's not going to mess this up or anything like that. So you're going to tape with the glossy side down. Now, the side you're going to have downward facing on the water is the glossy side. So with this carbon fiber one, it's kind of hard to tell, but a good way to tell is to lick your index finger and your thumb like this, and then pinch. And whatever side sticks to your finger, so that's my index finger is getting stuck, not my thumb, that is the side you want down towards the water. And sure enough, looking at it now, that is the more glossy side. So we are going to tape this bad boy down. And this is for 2 reasons. One, this is going to give a little bit of buoyancy to the film so it floats above the water. Because if you get any water on the top of the film, that film is no longer good. You have to start over. And like I mentioned, this hydro dipping film, it's not cheap. So, second reason is, you can hold this kind of tight. This sheet's a little wrinkly, like an old man's ball sack. But anyway, by using this masking tape, when you put it in the water and you hit it with the activator and it becomes all, you know, liquidy paint and whatnot, this masking tape is actually going to keep your image in shape, in place, so it doesn't get all stretched out and out of scale and start running all over your entire tote or bowl or bucket or whatever you're using to hold the water. If you do not have the masking tape on there, you run the risk of not only getting water on the top of the film, which ruins it, but also when you hit it with that activator, your image just starts bleeding and stretching all over the place, as with a masking tape will hold it where it needs to be the accurate image that you're trying to actually hydro dip. So in this case, carbon fiber. Use this stuff generously. You don't need to be using it sparingly, because out of all the materials in this whole process, masking tape is probably one of the cheaper. Obviously your hydro dip film, relatively expensive, and then also the activator that you spray is also. So this one's really easy to tell. That's the glossy, pretty side. This is the dull, muddy side. Very easy to tell with this graphic here. I really like that print. That is going to look fantastic. So, glossy side down. So as you see, I'm trying to stretch this film out, get all those wrinkles out and whatnot. Little bro tip, what you can do is just get the masking tape on the actual film itself and then pull down like this, creating a little bit of tension, and that will get some more air bubbles and stuff out of them. There we go, now we're cooking with that bacon grease. Now as you see me going kind of fast here, you don't need to do that, but obviously I've gotten pretty quick and efficient because I build multiple customer controllers at a time and stuff, so I kind of try to manage my time well. For example, I just put the second coat of paint on those small components in the garage, so while that paint's drying, I'm preparing the hydro dip film, so I'm constantly kind of doing something with the build. Alrighty guys, gonna fill up this massive tote full of water. I do have 2 smaller ones. However, I've noticed that using a larger container than you actually need seems to yield better results, at least in my experience, but I'm just gonna go with that. This thing is pretty grimy from previous hydro dips and whatnot. However, all that's dry in there. It's not going to be floating around or anything like that. So that is very, very good. So you want to target 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So I do have a digital thermometer here, like a laser one that you aim, and then I do also have a food thermometer that I'll dip in there as well, just to make sure I'm in that 90-degree range. That's ideal for the hydro dip film sticking to the surface of whatever it is you're dipping. So let's fill this bitch. A little fucking dog hair in there, we'll pull you out right now. You're not going in our hydro dip film, no sir. No sirree Bob. All right, cool, I'm gonna stir up the water with my hand here. Just going off my my fingertip senses, that feels a little warmer than 90 degrees. Ah, yeah, I've been in the game a long time. 94.6. All right, sweet. So that's actually perfect. You might want to get it a little bit hotter than 90 degrees while you set up, you know, get this bin exactly where you want it, get your shells ready or whatever it is you're going to be hydro dipping, and basically get ready to dip. That's naturally going to cool down to that 90-degree range while we set up. Alrighty guys, you want to make sure that water settled down from when you started with your hand, and it has. You are going to put this down the glossy side down towards the water, which is also coincidentally where the sticky part of our masking tape is. And this is a very gentle drop because you don't want to get any water on the top of this film. So if you can kind of roll it up a little bit and then just gently drop her in there, that's what you want to do. Make sure you don't see any particles or dog hair or anything floating around there, because that will mess up your hydro dip. We don't want that, boys. No sirree, we do not. All right, so when you drop it in, it's going to wrinkle up and you're going to think, oh my God, it's ruined. It is not. Let me show you guys what I'm talking about here. See, it got all wrinkly on us now. That is not a huge deal. It's going to expand out in about 45 seconds or so. This air bubble here can be kind of an issue. We're dipping up here, but still, you want to take your finger, kind of push this guy out. Get out of there. Get out of there, sir. There we go. Cool. All right, again, give that about 60 seconds from the time you drop in the water. This is a good time. Like I was talking about that time management, we're gonna go ahead and throw on our gloves over here. You definitely wanna make sure you have your watch off and you are wearing gloves, or else your hands are literally gonna be wearing that pattern, which could look cool, but it's gonna be permanent for a few days until you exfoliate. Then also you want to do your heavy duty respirator here, because the chemicals that we're using is this stuff here, which is extremely toxic, smells horrible. This is the best brand I've ever used though. The stuff tends to work very, very well for hydro dipping. All right, sweet, our film has expanded out, which is really cool. Still a little crease in it, you can kind of pull it out from the sides. Make sure you don't get any water on there. Well, it'll be fine. Once you hit it with that activator, it'll kind of smooth out a little bit. And when you're dipping it in, the two keys is you want to go slow and you want to go at an angle, about a 45-degree angle, which I'll show you guys right now. So we're going to hit it with the hydro activator. Make sure you shake this up well. Make sure your surface area is dry. Give her a quick blast. Going at an angle like this, like a 45, nice and slow. I might have gone a little fast, but anyway. And then you're going to shake up the rest of the hydro dip like this, so when you pull it up, you're not coating it a second time, you know? That looks fucking sick. Oh, that looks good. All right, so while you're rinsing this thing, you want warm to hot water, and if you have a spray pattern like that, this seems to speed up the process a little bit, because generally you're going to be rinsing this thing for about 3 to 5 minutes, and how you're going to know that it is completely done is that glossy finish on the outside is gone, and also when you touch it with your finger, there's no longer a slimy, that's the best way to describe it, residue over the outside of it. Overall though, I think this turned out pretty well. There is some bleed through right here, like I don't think that was part of the graphic. Some definite bleed through, which I think was because I left the activator in there a little bit longer than I was supposed to. All in all, looks pretty goddamn good though. All right, now we're just gonna pat that dry with a microfiber towel. Get the majority of the water off there, and then obviously we'll just let it drip dry the rest of the way. All right, let's get all that tape out of there and Move a little bit of that film out of the way from the last run, because we are going to reuse this water for the next hydro dip. All right, I'll let that settle for a minute. All right, I got a 60-second timer on my Schmishmexa device in there, and we are preparing to do the back plate now. Pretty satisfied with how the front plate turned out, or the front shell. I think it could have looked just a little bit better, but we're going to go a little bit slower with this next dip, and we're not going to wait as long before we dunk the shell in there after we spray the activator. I think that might have been the issue. Definitely want to make sure this respirator's on.
Hold it from the inside. This is a good place to fucking hold this thing. There we go. Hell yeah. Sexy as fuck.
All right, so we're doing our last dip for this project right now. It's that carbon fiber piece, which I just checked. The paint is dry on that one. And you really can't get any more than about, I would say, 3 or 4 dips out of a tote this size. You start getting a lot of film on there, and some of the activator actually gets mixed in with the water and stuff like that. So as you can see, it's wrinkly. That is standard. However, there's a massive air bubble on that. We're just going to go ahead and massage that out right now. That air bubble is something ferocious. Ooh, that stuff is nasty. Sweet. Oh no. I think my thumb might have fucking got a little spot right there and on top there. I should have been holding it from the inside. There really isn't a great place to grab this fucking thing, and I was kind of rushing myself, but that's okay. We'll do a little touch up on the bottom or something. Overall, looks good. Looks like carbon fiber. Yeah, got my little thumb mark there and there. Fuck. Alrighty guys, Phoenix is in the garage now, so we don't have quite as much maneuvering space, but that's totally fine. These have been sitting for about 4 hours now, so they're completely dry. I'm going to go ahead and hit them with a gloss clear coat. Probably about 2 to 3 coats, or as needed until they look up to my standards.
Look at the analog sticks and see what the differences are there. Mainly relied on weight, whereas the Dualsense.
Alrighty guys, for this piece right here, we're actually going to use a different hydrodipping technique in which you spray a bunch of different spray paints into water, let it sit for a few seconds, and then dip it in. You've probably seen a ton of people doing this on YouTube with like Nerf guns and sneakers and all kinds of shit. So going with that holiday theme, we are going to be using red, green, white, and a little splash of purple. Should look pretty nice, a little color pop. And you basically just go in a spiral fashion, figure out what you want on the actual piece, and that's where you're going to dip in a slow motion at a 30-degree angle, slowly straightening it out. You know, same technique we did with our hydro-dipping film. This can is almost empty. We're dual wielding, boys. Okay. That actually looks pretty dope. Kind of looks like a candy cane or something. I like it. Alrighty guys, so this is the final product here. I think it turned out phenomenally. I'm very, very satisfied. This piece right here, I didn't get it on camera, but you basically just snap it in the same way that we disassembled it. Again, the disassembly video is linked in the description below, as well as all of the parts, components, tools that I used for this build. I do like this part a lot. I think the next build that I do with this Christmas theme on a DualSense 5 controller, I will be doing more of a candy cane pattern, so just maybe red stripes through it or something like that. I think that would look really cool. Or I might even hydro dip another graphic, you know, like a little reindeer nose or something cute like that. as this is kind of a holiday theme one. But overall, looks really good. I will say, when I was assembling it, the controllers, or the triggers took a couple of scuffs here, a couple nicks, which is unfortunate, but I'm going to touch that up a little bit. And this is not a customer controller. This is my personal backup DualSense 5 controller, so there's that. But overall, I mean, this thing looks phenomenal. I'm very satisfied with it. The build cost was relatively inexpensive. And yeah, again, just very satisfied with it. Everything works well. I gamed with it on PC and it worked as it should. And yeah, that's going to do it, guys. Subscribe for more build videos like this. I'm actually working on 3 custom controllers right now for customers, and I'll be recording the entire build process on this channel so you can see behind the scenes how I make these bad boys, and you can do it at home yourself. Alright guys, have a good day. Peace.